Welcome to the Prepared School Psych Podcast, your resource for student success. I'm 𝐑𝐞𝐬𝐸, your host and guide, drawing from over 2 decades of experience as a school psychologist, presenter, and consultant. Join me as we explore practical strategies and insights from educational experts. From evidence-based approaches to real-world challenges, we are here to support you. Whether you're a school psychologist seeking new tools, a teacher in search of effective strategies, or a special education director eager to support your team, this podcast is here to provide you with the resources you need. And as we journey together, I have a special offer just for you, our dedicated listeners. Get exclusive access to a free 2-week trial of the Prepared School Psych community. Experience on-demand resources, mini courses where you can earn CEUs, and access to me and my content specialist through a variety of methods to answer your questions. Head over to 𝐑𝐞𝐬𝐸.com/podcast now and use the code podcast at checkout. That's podcast, all caps, for your 2-week trial. Information about this free offer can also be found in the show notes. Come and be a part of our supportive community. We would love to have you. Now, tune in and get prepared. Welcome to the Prepared School Psych Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the podcast. And today I am so excited because I have Lina with me. And Lina Kitson obtained her PhD in school psychology from the University of Kansas and is currently a practicing school psychologist in Kansas. She has enjoyed participating in various leadership roles spanning her school district, state board, which is CASP, similar to the California Association of School Psychologists, as well as the National Association of School Psychologists. In her school district, she's been part of the School Psychologist Strategic Planning Committee, which resulted in her district receiving a designation of proficient through the Excellence in School Psychological Services Recognition Program. On the CASP board, Lina started serving as a student representative, transitioned into the associate editor and editor position, served 2 terms as president, and is currently the past president. Nationally, Lina serves on the Leadership Development Committee and was recently elected as the NASP delegate for Kansas. She has presented locally as well as at the state and national level. She is also the co-founder of Copy Paste Report, an Excel-based program tailored specifically for school psychologists, resource teachers, speech-language pathologists, social workers, and other related service providers. I am so excited to have you here, Lina. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we are starting off with the question that, I don't know, everyone's asking everyone. What TV show are you watching right now? What are you watching that we should all be watching?
So I will always have to say my favorite show of all time is The Office. I mean, it is my comfort show. Like when I am doing work, I have The Office in the background because I know it so well that it just brings me so much joy. But I'm also a Bravo reality TV show fan. And so one of myself and my husband's favorite pastimes is to watch the Bravo reality shows because you can just disconnect and not think about anything. And so currently we're really enjoying Summer House. It's a really weird concept of these people that live in New York and are going to the Hamptons, are partying all weekend. And it is just really brainless thing to watch. So highly recommend.
I love that. I love that. I am a huge Office fan as well. I always say that show got me through the pandemic.
Yes,
definitely.
Yeah. Who's your favorite character?
Oh gosh. I am definitely a big Pam follower, but I think from listening to their podcast, The Office Ladies, I have really just enjoyed learning about the character development of Michael Scott.
Wow.
So we're actually watching all the Superfan episodes right now.
Kind of weird to watch a Superfan episode, especially if you've watched the Office multiple times, because it's whoa, this was not part of the story at all.
Well, my husband and I finally got to the place because I'm a bigger fan than he is. And he's like, if you could stop telling me that this is new, we could just enjoy the show. Like, but this is new. This wasn't in the original.
It's not part of the fandom. Like, this is not what we are used to. Yeah, absolutely.
No. So yes. All right. Well, in one sentence, how would your colleagues describe you as a school psychologist?
One thing that people really know about me is I love Excel. I love my spreadsheets. I love my coding, my conditional formatting. So very like technologically based. I would say they probably would describe me as resourceful, hopefully knowledgeable. One thing that I really hope my coworkers would think about me is kind, because we are working in such a difficult time. I hope that I am kind to my coworkers and they think of me as that. And I hope that they would think of me as a good teammate because, no matter what happens, I want to make sure that everybody's okay, everybody's feeling good, and everybody has what they need. So,
right. Well, I'm curious, how long have you been a school psych? And at what point in your journey did you become involved in your state association?
yeah, so this is my 5th year, I guess not counting my internship. Counting my internship, this would be my 6th year as a school psychologist. My development as a school psychologist was a little bit different because I went through the PhD program, and so I wanted to really have an internship that really mentored me as a doctoral intern. So I interned in our neighboring state, Missouri, and I got some really good experience through that. As far as leadership, I don't know what part of me really wanted to become a leader because I grew up as a pretty shy kid. I was born in Russia and then grew up in Israel. And so like I had to learn a lot of languages and then I moved to the United States when I was in 8th grade. And so I had a lot of kind of insecurities about, knowing English and all that stuff. So I don't know what part of me really why I wanted to go into leadership, but kind of my first taste of leadership was in my undergrad as the president of our psych club. And in grad school, I was part of our graduate association of school psychologists. And then as part of that, I was the student representative on the Kansas Association of School Psychologists board. And so I really loved it. And I mean, when I attended my first meeting, I was like, what are you guys talking about? All these acronyms, all these amazing things that people are doing. And it's like, I feel like I don't belong here. But that was my first taste of leadership. And I just couldn't get enough.
That is incredible. Well, as a former state association president, what were some of your key initiatives? And what were you passionate about working on in your role as the president?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And it's like, I always have imposter syndrome when I think that I like served president twice over because a lot of the work that the state association does, it's not my work. It's the board and then our membership and all that stuff. So I have to give a big shout out to our board because they are the most hardworking people I have had the pleasure to work with. And I am so lucky to have them as fellow board members. Really, I had a few different things, and we kind of, as we were working through with the board and past president, one of the things that we had done was back in 2020, one of our categories in Kansas was called emotional disturbance.
But we use in California, yeah.
And we were not a big fan of the disturbance part of that. And we were really lucky that a social worker in our state had brought that up to the legislation. And they were like, yes, let's kind of change the name. In 2020, we had these big conversations about how to change this category, what we would change it to, and what would that mean. So along with the social workers, the CASP board was also kind of asked some of the questions, what do you want to do with this? And our government professional relations chair had actually made a statement to the legislation and all that stuff. It was wonderful. Things were going great. And then it stopped because 2020 happened. And then 2 years ago, we kind of started that again with that same person who was really pushing for that. And it finally passed during my presidency. And I don't take any ownership of that at all, but I'm really, really proud that that happened during my presidency. So it's emotional disability now, and that is really cool. The other cool thing that we really wanted to do as a board, so we have a diversity scholarship for graduate students. And as a board, we kind of expanded the definition of what it means to be diverse. So not only that you're diverse, like, culturally or nationally, but also we wanted to include LGBTQ plus folks. We wanted to include people with disabilities because that is part of diversity. And years past, sometimes we wouldn't have applicants, and again, this is not my doing by any means. As I was president, we award 2 applicants the scholarship, and we've had an abundance of applicants. So that was so cool to have that. The other thing that we really wanted to do, so NASP has done the Excellent School Psychological Services recognition. Like you said, my district was granted one of the recognitions. Really cool. But we really wanted to empower districts across our state to apply for it. And then there's an application cost. It depends on your district size. And so we wanted to help district and offset that cost. And then we created a grant so that people can apply to the grant and have that application cost covered, at least a little bit, if not all of it. Only one district has utilized it, my district, thus far. We're hoping to kind of promote that and make sure that that happens because we think that the feedback from NASP is just so valuable. And so we really want that to be the case. The other part that I'm super passionate about is strategic planning. And I know that sounds so nerdy of me, but that is, I've seen such value in my own district on the board. And one of the things that's really hard to do on the board is we're all so busy. And so really having actionable steps and actionable goals. So what we had done as a state board, we had aligned our strategic goals with NASP strategic goals. So it kind of made it easier to really work around that. And we, as an association, really kind of honed in on strategic planning and really making actionable steps. So that's kind of what I would say would be my small contribution through my presidency. And I was so glad to run twice because it really allowed me to learn. Because, being a president is so hard and there's such a learning curve to it. So doing it twice really, really helped.
Yeah, that year just kind of went by very, very quickly. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, we're already done. Okay. And I know for a lot of people who've been in a leadership role, it's like, but now I know what I do, right? It takes us months to figure out that role really well. So I love that you had that opportunity to do that for multiple years. That's great. Well, you talked about so many of those accomplishments. Is there any of those that you are most proud of?
That one that I really felt very passionate about was the strategic planning piece. And I think really it's because it is so, so hard as, a state association to make progress. And when you have actionable steps and you have a good system going and you revisit the strategic plan often, I think that is really important to make change within this broader environment.
And as you mentioned, with so many people who are obviously volunteering their time and so many people who are part of the board who are also, of course, have full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So really figuring out what are those little things, those little steps to get us to that bigger one can help kind of break down that feeling of it being overwhelming to add yet another thing onto the. Well, reflecting back to when you were a first-year school psychologist, what advice would you give to someone who's kind of starting off in this field?
Oh my gosh, just be kind to yourself. I think that just the people that go into school psychology, we expect so much of ourselves. We expect to just know everything all the time. That's not possible. Still, I feel I'm still fairly new to the field and I'm learning so much. And so really just be kind to yourself and know that you've got this. And the hardships that you experience are part of the learning process. And yeah, if I could go back to and talk to myself, just Lina, be kind to yourself. It's okay. You'll get through this, you'll learn, and you'll feel comfortable eventually.
Well, in regards to that, we've talked about leadership here, and I know in a lot of school psychology university level programs, there might not be as much conversation about this role that school psychology, for many of us in our schools, we have this leadership role, whether we signed up for it or not. We do have so much knowledge about the field of school psychology and a lot of people come to us when there's questions about a lot of different things, where I think a lot of that imposter syndrome comes up because are we supposed to know everything about everything? And going back to your answer, no. But what advice would you give to someone who's kind of struggling in that leadership position?
So I'm very lucky to be part of the leadership development committee. It kind of empowered me as a leader to see myself as a leader, even though I've been in leadership roles before. I'm just like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not a leader. Like, who am I to tell anybody what anything is? Really thinking through as school psychologists are training, kind of like you said, whether we prepared for it or not, we are going to be the ones that are going to be leading the SPED team. And I think the advice that I would give is lean into it.
Yeah.
I think that we have this really kind of odd role that we're nobody's bosses, yet are leaders.
Yeah.
And so I think that's unique and positive in a sense because you're not evaluating people, but people still kind of look to you as a leader. So lean into that and don't think of yourself as, oh, I have to evaluate these people. I have to give them performance reviews or whatever it may be. No, they are seeing you as leaders. Lean into it and lead through friendship and like teaming rather than being their boss. And I think that's a pretty special role to be in.
Hey everyone, just a quick minute of your time to tell you about something coming up. Summer Boot Camp 2024 has been scheduled, and we are looking forward to seeing you virtually from July 8th through the 19th. If you are new to Summer Boot Camp, it is 2 weeks of professional development with some Q&A sessions to help answer all of your lingering questions. Whether you're starting your internship this fall, your first year in this field, or your 20th year, we have sessions for you. This summer, I am unveiling my IEP report card, a way for you to self-reflect and determine what is working and what areas are in need of some growth. We have resources all over the IEP report card, and to help you with those areas in need of growth, we have 12, yes, 12 professional development sessions over 2 weeks. Now, if you can't make the sessions live because you're actually going to enjoy your summer, no worries as we record everything. If you need some CEUs or a certificate of completion, we have those too. So head over to my website at jennyponzerk.com today, or click on the link in the show notes to learn all about the sessions we are offering. I will see you in July. I would agree. And I love the terminology you use. I always talk about it. It's like, I'm not the boss of you, but could we work on improving some of these different things as a team together, right?
Yeah.
And so, again, whether you're early career in this field or you've been in this field for a long time, I think we have so many different changes that happen. Whether we're at one school or at multiple schools, so many times there's a different admin, a different special ed teacher, or you change to a different school site. And so it's this constant examination of our skills coming on into a new team and, okay, what role am I playing over here? And all of those different pieces, it can kind of feel never ending sometimes, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and like you said, I think that in the field of education, we have such high turnover that you have to kind of understand that there's going to be changes. There's going to be changes in dynamics. Some years are going to be better than others. And just, you have to kind of figure out what to do with that.
Right. Well, I love how you said you should lean into that. I think it's a great perspective on there. Well, kind of going back to what we were talking about before in regards to so many people want to be involved in a leadership position, but there is that time element. No school psychologist has ever walked in and wondered what they were going to do that day, right? We've got a list of way too many things to choose from every single day. So how do you manage your time and make it work?
You know, I've always heard this throughout my experience in being part of volunteer opportunities, whether it's state, national, whatever it may be. I feel that my leadership experiences have been such bucket fillers. It doesn't feel, at least to me, as like extra work. It's like, oh, yay, I get to go and have a meeting with these amazing people who want to forward the field of school psychology. And I feel like a lot of times the people that volunteer are very like-minded because we know what we're getting into.
Right.
And so it's really fun to be amongst people who are so passionate and truly, I mean, of course you do have to manage your time and, of people that have kids that needs to kind of get figured out anyway. We don't have children, so we don't need to worry about that specifically. But I know of a lot of leaders who do and still manage to do it. I think it's just if you feel like that is a bucket filler to you, it's going to be like a hobby rather than work. And that's kind of how it's felt to me.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I know for myself being a past president, you talked about it being a bucket filler. I just remember sitting around the table and just looking at everyone else. And I always wandered out going, I need to be better. Like, I want to be like really cool and super smart, like all of these other people that are here. It was I got such energy from being around everybody. And I remember whether I was driving back from a meeting or flying back, and I was just like, what are we going to do about this? Right. It was
very fun.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to share or promote about your state association?
Oh man, I mean, we're doing such great work. I'm actually really, really excited. In the couple weeks, actually, we have our spring convention who we're going to have our Kansas Department of Education attorney come and present. That's something that we've done so we have one in-person convention in the fall. And then since COVID, we've kind of done virtual convention in the spring. And so one of the things we've done in the fall is bring in one of our Kansas Department of Education attorneys and present. And we never have enough time for them to present all the legal updates. And of course, as psychs, we're suckers for, legal updates. Yeah. So this time we're like, okay, we're going to put half a day for our Kansas Department of Education attorney to present on legal updates. And something special that we've done is actually request questions from the membership. And so that is how he is going to kind of make his presentation about kind of answering the question and then giving the legal updates. So I'm so excited about that. That's coming in a couple weeks and I'm thrilled to have that. But we just have a lot of great advocacy things going within our state and it's pretty cool. Actually, one of our current president, she had done a shortages with collaboration with some of the board members, and it kind of serves as like a advocacy tool. So really, really cool stuff. Yeah.
That is wonderful. Well, you were the president of CASP, which just shows what an amazing leader you are, but you also co-founded a business. Do you want to talk a little bit? I know I shared a little bit about it in your introduction. You and I have already talked, and I'm going to bring it back on. We're going to get into depth about it. But if you want to put in a little plug and talk a little bit about the report writing software program, you mentioned you love Excel.
Oh, love Excel. So one thing that my husband and I have in common, and my husband is also a school psychologist, works in the same school district, has 2 elementary buildings just like I do. We met in grad school, so we're really good. Yes. And we've always really liked Excel. We've always really liked making things that kind of save us time because obviously as school psychologists, we have so much paperwork, we have, all that stuff going. And so we kind of on our own created our own little templates. We created our own little things. And about 2 years ago, we said, hey, what if we let other people use our stuff? Because people have asked for it. And we are full-time school psychologists. We were not going to do this for the money. The money is nice to compensate for our time.
Right.
But it was kind of like a passion project for us. So we kind of launched it. We launched our business, Copy Paste Report, and I will forever take the credit for the title because I wanted it to be like a cute little acronym, CPR. Like it's resuscitating your work. School psychologist or resuscitating you and being able to do a lot more than just paperwork. But yeah, it started out this little, we had, I think 10 measures at first we had launched it. And now we have over 100 measures.
Wow.
Spanning from cognitive, academic, social, emotional, speech, language. We have some OT ones too. But that's not where it stops. So because obviously we're not just testers, we do behavior stuff. Like in our district, we do a lot of FBAs. So we have this amazing, and I say this because I use that all the time, amazing FBA tool that like you can not only create your own data sheet, but you can track the data and it analyzes it all for you. Like amazing.
Oh.
There's like a behavior analysis tool that you put in your behavior stuff and then it just pops graphs out. I mean, there is like, and we are always like adding stuff because it's like, oh, this is what we're using at school. Let's add that to copy paste report. And I mean, and it's such a fun thing for us to do. And it kind of like has been a lot more successful than we had expected. We're like, oh, like that's great. Like, people like our stuff. And we love the feedback that we get. I mean, anytime somebody emails us like, oh, I cannot live without copy paste report, we're like, it's worth it. It's all the work that goes into it is worth it. So yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we think it's really well priced. It's something that both Tyler, my husband, and I use every single day at work, and it is just such a time saver.
Incredible, incredible. Well, as I mentioned, we're going to have you and your husband back on so you guys can talk a lot more about it. So anyone listening to this right now, if you have specific questions that you want me to ask during my next interview with Lina and her husband, feel free to just go over to my website, go to my podcast page. There's a place to provide some feedback. And if there's anything specific you would like to know about, but we'll definitely put the link to the copy paste report website into the show notes here. Just to kind of finish everything up here, this podcast is called The Prepared School Psychologist. When you think of the word prepared, what do you do to help yourself feel more prepared in your role?
Professional development. You have to continue to learn whether it's reading a book or listening to a podcast or listening to a webinar or attending your state association conference or whatever it may be. Our field is so evolving. It evolves all the time. And so read, engage in professional development. That's how I keep myself knowledgeable about all the things that are happening within the field.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. Again, I'm excited to have you back so we can talk more about copy paste report. Anyone who's watching our replay here on YouTube, you can see her copy paste report pillow behind her as well. There you go. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Lina, for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
That concludes another episode of the Prepared School Psych podcast. And I hope today's discussion equipped you not just with knowledge, but also the confidence to take action. Remember, every conversation we have and every resource we share builds a bridge towards a more inclusive and empowering learning landscape for our students. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast for more insightful conversations and resources to support your journey. Share this podcast with colleagues. We would love it if you would also rate and review the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Just a reminder, everyone, the information and advice provided in this podcast are for guidance purposes only, and all listeners are required to follow both federal and state law and their own school district guidelines